I encourage you in the upcoming week to spend a little time with the Catechism of the Catholic Church. There's actually an online link on the parish website if you're in need of that, because we'll be able to look into all the beautiful revelation that God has given to the church to hand on to all of his people, the beautiful richness of the Holy Family as model for every Christian family. Every Christian family, a domestic church, the core cell of God's people. And as you pray and as you read, you'll find your heart burning and yearning and responding, because what's been revealed will be resonating with our utmost desires of what family life can really be when it's lived in full communion with God. So allow yourself that experience of just basking in God's revelation about the gift of the family. Among what you will read and pray about and your heart will respond to are some sections in there that talk about the responsibilities of family members. The responsibilities of family members as we cooperate with God in living out the gift of the family. I'll highlight just a couple of them for our beginning of reflection here. Allow your hearts to resonate with this. Some of the responsibilities of parents. You can sum it up by saying, always be presenting your children to God, right? Educating them in the faith. We have a little window of time while they're more in our control and in our house. Present them to God. Present the faith to them. Educate them in the faith. And even when they're gone, always, parents, always be praying for them. Always be concerned for them. Always be available. Especially as your children might at different times in life go off on various paths toward God. So responsibilities of parents. Responsibilities of children. You can summarize it in terms of obedience and respect. And children, any of us here we're all children here, different ages. Any of us who are looking for some help in being obedient to our parents, especially in our youth, ask Jesus for help. Jesus, a person of God, the Son of God, who became subject to Joseph and Mary. So if you're looking for a little help there, ask Jesus for help in being obedient. And always respect. And we borrow from Sirach, this great book of wisdom literature. Respect always, especially in caring for parents, as you are able, children. Especially in caring for your parents in times of old age and loneliness and illness or distress. Providing material and moral support. And really is a way of living into the fourth commandment to honor thy father and mother, isn't it? They gave us life, Sirach reminds us. How could we ever repay them? Honor thy father and mother. I spent a lot of time praying and reflecting on that this past week, and it struck me, it was revealed to me, that God honored the father and mother of Jesus here on earth. God honored Joseph and Mary by entrusting the life of Jesus to them. And so I submit, children and parents gathered here, for us to consider how God is honoring us by entrusting us to each other in the family, and how we in turn honor God by how we relate to one another. It is not easy. I would suggest it's difficult to always honor each other. And there's a particular challenge I've become aware of recently in honoring each other. The challenge is that of comparing ourselves to others. And maybe in a unique way, comparing our family to other families. Especially in this time of year in which we receive these beautiful photos of other families. And these beautiful update letters from other families. There's a challenge of allowing ourselves to think that everyone else's life is going smoothly. And that we're the only ones who are having any challenges. Perhaps there's even a challenge of comparing ourselves to the Holy Family. Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. I've always taken great comfort in identifying with Saint Joseph. If you think about it, Jesus and Mary never sinned, so I've always imagined that if anything ever did go wrong in the house, Joseph quickly learned to acknowledge that it was his fault pretty quickly. Going to cousin Elizabeth's, hey, who left that candle burning? Oh, Joseph looking at Jesus and Mary, that must be my fault. I'm sorry. Take comfort in relating to St. Joseph. We can also take comfort knowing that Jesus humbled himself, becoming poor and experiencing firsthand all the struggles of humanity. So if there is a struggle in your household, trust and take comfort knowing that Jesus knows the demands, the rigors of family life. So if you're caught up in that and maybe looking for some relief from the challenge of comparing your family to others, I have a few suggestions. Perhaps disengage from anything that might foster a tendency to compare your family to other families. Maybe back away from social media. What would you do in place of that? Maybe pay a little bit more attention to each other. Maybe have more family meals. Also, take time each day to thank God specifically for entrusting your family relationships to you, no matter how challenging they may sometimes or that they may always be. Thank God for entrusting you with the gift of those family relationships. Take comfort in the Holy Family's modeling. Take comfort in the Holy Family's desire to be with us and praying with us and praying for us. And perhaps there's an opportunity to more consciously and intentionally invite the Holy Family into your family. Inviting in God the Son, God who became flesh, subjected himself to Joseph and Mary. Invite in your brother, Jesus. Invite in Mary, the mother of God. Invite in Joseph. Ask them all for help. Perhaps above all, I encourage you to acknowledge the normal things that can happen and so often do happen in the family. We all know this. At a given time, one or more family members may be on one of several different paths toward God. They may be on a path of finding their independence, even separate from how you've raised them. They may be struggling with belief. They may be manifesting disbelief. They may be overtly confused, and they may be articulating that confusion. They may be exploring into different directions that you would otherwise not approve of. And the behaviors associated with all of those paths can naturally trigger our concern for our loved ones. And if we're caught up in comparing our family to other families, when we see those behaviors associated with independence, disbelief, confusion, exploration, we could even get caught up in anger, maybe jealousy, perhaps self-doubt. Are we not raising our family the right way? In that moment, I encourage you, entrust them to God. Entrust your loved ones to God's providential care. And then, if you're able to engage your family directly, take time with them. Stop looking at other families. Look only to the Holy Family. Invite them in, and with your family member, take time to listen to them. Take time to seek understanding of what they're experiencing. Take time to acknowledge what they're experiencing. Encourage them. We're reminded that becoming holy, the process of sanctification, is the work of a lifetime. We're also reminded that conversion can happen in a moment. Be there with them along the path. Above all, let them know that you love them. As St. Paul told the Colossians, put on love. Your unconditional love for your family may be the expression of God's unconditional love that they experience. If your family member happens to be out of your life, you could still present them to God in prayer. My sisters and brothers, just as God the Father honored Joseph and Mary by entrusting Jesus to them, so he also honors us as parents and as children by entrusting us to each other in the gift of the family. And just as today we recall the event of Joseph and Mary presenting Jesus to the Lord in the temple, so too we recognize how God invites us to participate in events as gateways through this life to keep us on the path to eternal life. So let us always be encouraged, and let us encourage one another to participate in the events he provides, the gifts, the events of the sacraments, the gifted events of every moment with family, and perhaps in the most unique way, the gifted event of each Sunday in which we learn to present ourselves to God so that we may faithfully receive new life in Jesus.